Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back. I am Marley with the site Namely Marley, and you know me, I love vegan recipes and I love sharing them with you. So that's why we're doing another live today. And I think you're going to like today's topic because we're talking about things that you can take to a party. Holiday parties are right around the corner or maybe going on right now. And I love being the person that takes the thing that everybody loves. It's a thing of pride for me, I guess. I don't know, but I just enjoy it when I actually have been at a party before where somebody came up to me and said, "I feel really sorry for you because you're vegan and you can't eat this." And it was the thing that I brought. It was just so good that this guy just was he was flummoxed. He was just shocked that it happened to be vegan. So today is on that line of snacks, as if you ask me. We're gonna be making Chex Mix, and if you're like me, you love Chex Mix, but you don't want the hassle of cooking it at a low temperature for an hour and have to stir it every 15 minutes. This one is gonna be made in minutes, and if you're like, "No way, Marley, there's no way it's gonna be made in minutes," I promise you it can. But let's go over the ingredients. I like to make this gluten-free because here's the way I look at it. If you're going to a party and you don't know who's going to be there, and if somebody's gluten-free or if somebody's vegan, or dairy-free or egg-free, whatever, if you bring something that everybody can eat, then that's really a party, if you ask me. So I usually stick to gluten-free ingredients, but you can mix and match however you want. So I use rice Chex and corn Chex. These are my two favorite Chexes to use. Now, I will tell you, you can also use wheat Chex and you can use, I think, do they have brand Chex? Do you know? They have multi-grain Chex or whatever. This is just me, but when I would go to parties, I'm the picker in the group, and I would always be picking out the rice and the corn Chex. And then I had this moment where I thought, oh, I could just make it myself and just make it with just rice and corn Chex. So these are my two favorite Chexes, so that's what I use. I have these little pretzel chips that we're going to be using today, but you can use pretzels or gluten-free pretzels. That's totally up to you. I like adding pistachios. It's just I just think they're pretty. I love the flavor of them. They're a little bit crunchy too, and so but what I really love is that pop of color that comes out. And mixed nuts. Now, these mixed nuts happen to be the cashew variety that, or the I'm sorry, the Costco variety that are actually have sugar coating, which I don't know about you, but I love the flavor of salty and sugar together, so it's just delicious. So let's pour these into a bowl. Let's just get started. So here we go. We're gonna go with the rice Chex and the corn Chex. Gonna add these pretzel bites, and here goes the pistachios. This is kind of fun. I like this. And the nuts. I'm gonna put these bowls away, and we're just gonna stir this together. I like it stirred up because that way when somebody grabs a handful, they get just a mixture. That's what we want. Unless they're people like me who like to pick. So I'm gonna set this aside and we're gonna build the sauce that goes over it. Um, of course, you can buy those Chex Mix sauces, but a lot of those are made with, oh my God, here, I'm gonna try this. I say it the way I spell it, which is Worcestershire. Anybody from England is gonna laugh at me, but it's Worcester. Is that how you say it? Worcester? 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 I mean, why do they spell it that way? It's ridiculous. Worcester, Worcester. Anyway, if that has fish in it, so I usually just make it myself, or you can, I'm not actually using that sauce in this recipe, or you can make your own Worcester sauce. But for me, I'm gonna stick with not using it. And another thing I'm experimenting with today, just for you all, is typically my recipe calls for 6 tablespoons of vegan butter for the sauce. And today, I thought I would try mixing it up. This is right. You're gonna get to experience this with me live today. How risky am I? I'm gonna use half vegan butter and half olive oil. So we'll mix that together. The sauce also includes I usually use onion powder, but I didn't have any today, so I'm going to use dehydrated onions, which I think will be just as good. Some garlic powder, and we're also going to be using tamari, which I like because it's just like a gluten-free soy sauce. So once again, this makes it gluten-free, but also it's got a little bit lower sodium content than soy sauce. The other thing that adds a salty kind of Worcestershire sauce flavor is this miso paste. And what I like about miso paste is that it is, well, I've read some studies that indicate that miso paste is a better sodium quality. I mean, as a result, if you're trying to watch your sodium levels, the study that I read made it sound like miso paste is a good option to use. Maybe it's because it's fermented, maybe it's because it's made with soy and the combination of the soy and the sodium reduces the overall sodium intake on your body. I don't know, but I like miso paste for that reason. And we're gonna measure out a tablespoon of this. But first, I'm gonna melt this butter in the microwave. So let me just measure out this miso paste while that's cooking. A whole tablespoon here. I put this paper comes with it, but it keeps it soft instead of drying up. I'm done with that. I like to melt the butter right before I make this sauce together because that will help soften up the miso paste. Here we go, adding the olive oil. Gonna add the tamari. Again, it's just basically soy sauce, dehydrated onions, garlic powder. And let's get that miso paste in there. I'm gonna get a smaller spatula, stir that with. This kind of takes a second or two for it to all stir together because the paste is pasty. But the heat from the melted butter really helps it soften up. But I do like to make sure it's stirred all the way because otherwise you're going to be dealing with clumps of miso paste throughout, and we don't want that. You can still see there's still clumps. So what I do is kind of push it up against the side of the dish. There we go. I think that's pretty good. So you can see little bits of the dehydrated onions in there. The garlic powder is all disseminated through that. So now it's time to pour it over. And what I like to do is I pour about half of it on this, and then we'll stir it, and then we'll pour the rest of it. And the reason I do that is because, again, we want to make sure all of it is covered with the sauce. So I'm going to do about half. And then I'm going to get my bigger spatula. Okay, now I think we're ready for the rest of that. So let's pour that on. Okay, and then stir. I'm using a microwave safe dish here because this is going to go into the microwave next. Okay, it's gonna go into the microwave for 6 minutes. So let's do this. Okay, so as that cooks, I thought I would tell you minutes we're going to be taking it out and giving it a stir because what's going to happen is the heat from the microwave is going to cause the sauce ingredients to kind of maybe settle down towards the bottom, and we want to make sure everything that's in that bowl is equally saturated with the sauce. I also thought it'd be fun to talk about some different flavor variations that we could try if you were interested in, let's say, maybe even changing up the ingredients, the add-ins that you include. So let's start with the add-ins first, because some ideas that I love are things like Cheerios. If you wanted to add that, I mean, I think that's kind of the classic recipe for snack mix is to add Cheerios. Obviously, nuts, dried fruit would be amazing because dried fruit is, um, I was just checking the time. Dried fruit will add kind of that sweet, so you'll get a little bit of sweet and salty together, which I absolutely love those flavors together. Popcorn would be another really good addition to this because it'll make it even more filling. It'd be a great, forget taking it to a party. You can have it for movie night if you'd like. Bagel chips. I also think those little sesame sticks would be really good too. I don't know if you ever seen those at the health food store, but those sesame sticks would be great. I have a recipe on the site for basically vegan Cheez-Its, so that would be delicious. Oyster crackers would be another fun idea. Okay, it's been like a minute and a half, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it out, and we're gonna just give it a stir. Now, it immediately feels softer to the spoon. I can just tell that the Rice Krispies or the Rice Chex are get the Chex and the corn and the rice Chex are getting softer, which is okay. It's nothing to be worried about. This is just very normal. Okay, I'm gonna put that back in the microwave. Just hit start. The very first time I ever had Chex Mix was at a family dinner. My cousins Margie and Mel made it. I was just a little kid. They were really more like an aunt and uncle to me, but big variation in age in my family. So anyway, they served it, and I thought it was just delicious. And then, of course, when I became an adult and I tried making it myself, I was not impressed with how long it takes. So I love this concept of cooking it in the microwave. Believe me, it's just as crunchy as when you make it in the oven, and you don't have to bake it for an hour and stir it every 15 minutes. We just put it in the microwave for 6 minutes and just stir it a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about some of the flavor variations. I mentioned that adding some dried fruit would give it kind of a sweet and salty flavor, which I think is amazing. You could also do a Southwest kind of flavor profile by adding some chili powder. I think that would be really delicious, or some chipotle. I think adding some smoke sauce, or you know what I'm talking about, liquid smoke. That would be really delicious in this. You could do a cheesy twist by adding some vegan nutritional yeast flakes. I think that would almost give it kind of a Parmesan flavor, which would be nice. And I also thought, what about coconut curry, where you could add some curry seasoning to this mixture and some coconut flakes, especially if you can get those big flaky coconuts, because those will get a little bit crispy too. So that would be delicious. Okay, so this one's a little bit crazy, but I think the idea of s'mores, again, with the salty and the sweet, and add little pieces of graham crackers and some vegan marshmallows and chocolate chips. Of course, you'd want to add the chocolate chips and the marshmallows after it's cooked. Otherwise, it would be all melted and a mess. You can just see I'm kind of taking it out every couple of minutes and stirring it. Again, the reason I'm doing this is, and the reason you do it when it's baking is the same thing, is we're just trying to get that sauce equally distributed across the whole mixture because it will have a tendency to settle otherwise. Okay, back in the microwave. Another way this would be great would be to have at your own party if you're having people over. I This is the kind of thing that everybody's going to congregate around because it's so tasty and people can grab little morsels of it. It's delicious. So, and I love things like that. that make my party feel like it's well put together and people have things to eat and it doesn't take a lot of effort on my part. So here, the hardest part is just having the ingredients. And as I mentioned, you have so many options when it comes to the ingredients. Like you can mix in some Cheerios or just go look in your cabinet and see what you've got. Like I was even thinking we have some Triscuits or just all kinds of things that you can put in this mixture and it would be delicious however you do it. I think it's because the sauce really makes this. So where you don't want to skimp or maybe exchange too much is with the sauce, but you can add other ingredients to it. So I think some things that you could serve along with this, I mean, because this is salty, I think it would be, you could have a vegan cheese ball beside it, or you could try having something sweet. Like I have a recipe on the site for chocolate covered almonds. I think having that sitting next to this big bowl of Chex Mix would just be delicious. The two together because of the nuts, and then you've got one nut in this mixture that's salty and the other nuts that are sweet. I think that the two together would be very delicious. Okay, one last time of stirring. It's starting to get hot, the bowl is, so it might be a good idea when you're doing this to make sure you have some oven mitts nearby. It's funny that you might think that you don't need oven mitts when you're doing something in the microwave, but the dishes can still get very hot and you don't want to burn yourself. Now, you may not believe this, but you can actually see on bits of this, it's starting to brown. So even cooking in the microwave can cause things to brown. It's amazing. Okay, back in the microwave for one more minute. I also have a recipe on the site for some Christmas punch. It's a super easy punch to make, and I think having that, I mean, I'm just imagining a spread with maybe some fresh strawberries and some Christmas punch along with this Chex Mix. I mean, these are all, and then my vegan cheese ball is super easy to make. So it'll make you look like you have just spent hours in the kitchen, and in reality, it's just been a little bit of your time. Like I say, the ingredients are probably the hardest things to have on hand, and that's Chex Mix and corn Chex and did I say Chex Mix? I meant corn Chex and rice Chex and then pretzels and the nuts. So pretty easy to have around and pretty easy to make. So that's what I like. And I really like, I'm kind of particular about having things ready on time. And so I like this because I can make this ahead of time. It's going to stay crunchy for quite a long time. So it makes it pretty easy. Also, I forgot to mention that I'm happy to have Sean back this week. He was not here last week, and as you can tell, the video quality was not as good, was it? He's not saying anything, but he's agreeing with me. I know it. The video quality was not so great last week, but okay, here we go. 6 minutes are up. I am going to stir this one more time. And then let me just get this stuff out of the way. And then what I have is just a baking pan lined with parchment paper, and I'm going to spread this out. And then I like to distribute it across the pan because as it cools, believe it or not, it's going to get very crispy. Now here is a point where you could add some other things. For example, I love the idea of adding some freshly ground pepper and also add a little bit of salt. Let me grab that. It's pretty salty as it is, so we don't want to add too much more. But as it's sitting here, this would be a point where, hey, why not, we're just playing around here anyway, so why don't we try adding some nutritional yeast flakes? I've got some in a container right here, so why not? We'll just sprinkle a little bit on there. Since I was talking about flavor variations, we might as well give it a try. Mm. This smells amazing. Oh, I love the smell of Chex Mix, and it's a favorite snack to have around. Like I say, it doesn't have to be for a party. You can just be having a Friday night movie night and you want to have the best snack. This would be it. But I also love the idea of adding popcorn to it. If this is what you're doing and you're having a party night, popcorn would be the way to go. Look at that. See how that's browned? Look at this piece. It definitely browns even in the microwave. So, as at a party, I would transfer this to a very pretty bowl once it was completely cooled. I would transfer this to a bowl and make it look just beautiful. Because how you serve it really matters. Let me just get a bowl rolling right now. Oops. AirPod fell out. What's that? No. Okay. I'm gonna move this over here. There we are. We are done. This is, how long have we been on here? Like 10 minutes? You can see this is, oh, 20 minutes. Oh, that's because I've been gabbing too much. So I thought I would give you a little taste test. See if I could tell the difference between adding olive oil, if it's less buttery. Mm, it's so good. It's just the right amount of salty. This is another reason I don't like to use the packaged mix, is I think they put way too much salt in it. This is not, like when you put it in your mouth, you get to taste the flavors of the garlic powder and the onion powder and the other ingredients, and you don't feel overwhelmed with the saltiness of it. So I love it. And when you get some of these pieces that are more saturated with the sauce, it's even better. Oh, mm. I think I'm just gonna sit here and snack on this. Is that okay? No, I probably would not do that. But I'm serious. I was the person always going through and picking out the rice and the corn. So now I get it just the way I want it. That's what I love. Oh. Okay, I hope you make this right away, and if you do, let me know what you think. I would like to hear from you. If you add something different to your rice or your Chex Mix, I would love to hear from you. And I also like to hear what you're gonna make for your holiday parties. Even if this is not what you're gonna make, you're gonna make something different. Let me know. I would love to hear from you what you're making. And if you enjoyed this video, I would really love it if you would give it a thumbs up and maybe subscribe so that you can get more recipes that we'll be sharing with you every week. Thank you so much for joining me. I had a great time.